Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The final song, Kelly Clarkson and Unforgettable Moment, when the stage lights dimmed and the first notes of music filled the studio. It wasn't just another episode of songs. It was the last one. Kelly Clarkson's heartfelt farewell to a show that had touched millions. For years, Kelly had used her platform to celebrate music, invite incredible artists, and remind audiences that behind every melody lies a story of resilience, dreams, and courage. And fittingly for her final bow, she invited a powerhouse of self-love and empowerment to stand beside her. The audience that evening sensed something extraordinary. The energy was electric, like the air before a thunderstorm, charged with anticipation. Fans waved banners, some with messages of thanks, others quoting lyrics that had changed their lives. Kelly stepped on stage, smiling with that familiar warmth that made people feel she was singing just for them. She looked emotional, but her voice was steady as she welcomed her guest. "Tonight is special," Kelly said. "It's the end of a beautiful chapter, but also a beginning. And I can't think of anyone better to share this with than walked out, dazzling in a glittering outfit that reflected not just the stage lights, but her unapologetic personality." The roar from the audience was deafening. She hugged Kelly tightly, the kind of embrace between two women who knew the weight of the struggles they had carried and the victories they had earned. Two journeys, one stage. Kelly Clarkson's journey had begun decades earlier, when a young Texas girl auditioned for a brand new show called American Idol. She was just another dreamer back then, standing nervously before judges, unsure of what the future held. But her voice, raw, powerful, and filled with emotion, captivated the world. She became the very first American Idol champion. And with that victory, a star was born. But Kelly's story wasn't only about winning. It was about persistence. Over the years, she faced career setbacks, industry pressures, and personal struggles. She navigated heartbreak, self-doubt, and the endless challenge of balancing fame with authenticity. Yet through it all, she held on to her belief that music was more than entertainment, it was healing. Story echoed those themes in her own way. Born Melissa Jefferson, she had once doubted whether there was room for someone like her in the music industry. She had been told she didn't fit the mold, that she wasn't the right image for a pop star. She battled self-criticism, rejection, and even periods of depression, but refused to surrender. She turned pain into art, using her flute, her voice, and her lyrics to create songs that preached self-love, body positivity, and unapologetic confidence. When Truth Hurts went viral, life transformed. But her fame wasn't just about a catchy song, it was about a message. Her music reminded people, especially women and young girls, that they were worthy just as they were. So here they were, two women from very different backgrounds, united by music and resilience. The performance that changed everything, the highlight of the evening, came when Kelly and sang together. They chose a medley, part Kelly classic, part anthem. First came Kelly's Since You've Been Gone, a song that had once become a rallying cry for independence. Joined in, her rich voice blending seamlessly, adding power to the chorus. The crowd sang every word, their voices merging with the performers in a wave of shared emotion. Then the music shifted. The opening chords of Good as Hell echoed through the studio, and suddenly the atmosphere turned into a celebration. Kelly danced alongside, laughing, singing, and letting herself be carried by the joy of the moment. Audience members stood, clapping, shouting, some even crying. It wasn't just a performance, it was a passing of the torch, a reminder that music's power doesn't end with one show or one season. For Kelly, it was about gratitude, for the fans, for the journey, for the chance to inspire. For it was about honoring those who paved the way, showing that representation matters, and that voices that once went unheard can now roar. The stories they shared between songs, The two women sat down together on stage, microphones in hand. Kelly spoke about how much the show had meant to her, not just as a career milestone, but as a platform for lifting others. "They've always believed music is more than sound. It's a story," Kelly said. "Every artist who's ever come here brought their truth, and I wanted people to hear it. Because sometimes you don't need advice, you just need a song that tells you you're not alone." Nodded, her eyes glistening. "That's why I love you, Kelly. You remind people it's okay to be human. You've shown me, and everyone watching, that even when life knocks you down, you can sing through the pain." The audience clapped, not just for the words, but for the vulnerability. In a world often obsessed with perfection, seeing two global stars admit to struggle was liberating. The legacy of the final show, as the episode drew to a close, Kelly gave her final words: "This isn't the end. Music never ends. It keeps going in every heart, in every story, in every dream. Thank you for letting me share mine with you. And thank you too for reminding us all to love ourselves and to never stop singing." Tears filled her eyes as the studio erupted in cheers, wrapped her arm around her, and together they waved goodbye. But in truth, nothing about that night felt like goodbye. It felt like a promise that music would continue to be a lifeline, that voices would keep rising, and that stories of resilience would keep inspiring. The inspiration that lingers. Fans left that night carrying more than memories of a show. They carried lessons. They remembered how Kelly Clarkson taught them that dreams can begin in unexpected places, that a girl from Texas could rise to become one of the most beloved singers in the world. They remembered how taught them to embrace every part of themselves, to dance even when life feels heavy, and to believe they are enough. In living rooms across the world, viewers felt something shift. Parents saw hope for their children's dreams. Young people battling insecurities saw role models who had overcome the same doubts. And musicians, waiting for their break, felt the courage to keep going. Beyond the stage, long after the lights dimmed, the legacy of that night lived on. Fans shared clips online, calling it one of the most powerful performances ever. Hashtags trended worldwide, celebrating not just the music but the message. Teachers showed it to their students as an example of resilience. Counselors shared it with patients struggling with self-worth. For Kelly, the show ended, but her influence didn't. She continued writing, singing, and sharing her journey. For the night was another step in her mission to change how the world sees beauty, strength, and art. Together, they had reminded the world that music is not just about charts or fame. It is about healing, connection, and the courage to yourself. Closing thought, the final episode of Songs was more than a farewell. It was a story of two women whose voices carried not just melody but truth. Kelly Clarkson and showed that while every stage eventually goes dark, the songs we sing, and the stories behind them, continue to light the way for others. And somewhere, in a small town or a big city, a young dreamer picked up a guitar, or wrote a lyric, or sang in front of a mirror, whispering to themselves, "If they could do it, maybe I can too."